Okay, so we're looking at two-way tables today. So a two-way table is just a nice little table that allows us to analyze data, look at certain survey results, and generally we can do it based on a couple different things. So oftentimes you will see survey results broken into like males and females, or if we're talking a high school survey, maybe you'll see the results broken down into ninth graders, 10th graders, 11th graders. And then you also want to obviously know how that person responded. Okay? So, what we need to be able to do is look at this frequency table. Okay? In general, there will be numbers in all of these boxes. But before we put numbers in there, I just want to talk about some general things. Okay? So we obviously have columns and rows, right? We have a row here, a column here. All of the totals need to add up. Okay, so let's just put random numbers in here, but let's keep it nice and simple. So let's put 5, let's put 10, let's put 7, and let's put 8. Okay, so if I work across to find the total number of people that speak a foreign language, I would just have to add 5 and 10 to make 15. If I wanted to find the people that do not speak a foreign language, 7 and 8 is also 15. Okay, and then if I want to work down the people that play an instrument, 5 and 7 makes 12. And then let me go back to my pointer. People that do not play an instrument, 10 and 8 is 18. And then I can also work across to find the total. So this would be the total number of people that responded. So 12 plus 18 is 30. Same way that 15 plus 15 is 30. So I have my 30 in here. Okay? All right, so now let's make some sense, some vocab of what these things actually are. And we have our 5 vocab terms down here. Okay, so joint frequency. So the joint frequency are these 4 boxes. So this is a joint frequency. This is a joint frequency. Well, if my F would go in there, there we go. This is a joint frequency, and this is a joint frequency. So all of the joining together of a column with a row, not including the totals, obviously, become our joint frequencies. Okay, our marginal frequencies are our totals. So if I wanted the marginal frequency of people that play an instrument, it would have to be 12. If I wanted the marginal frequency of people that do not play an instrument, it would have to be 18. And then we can also work across. The marginal frequency of people speaking a foreign language would be 15, so on and so forth. So our totals here are marginal frequency, marginal frequency, marginal frequency, and marginal frequency. Okay? And then we have, this doesn't really have a vocab word with it here, but this is our total. Okay? So we know the crosses make our joint frequencies, the totals, or the subtotals, I guess, make our marginal frequencies, and then we have our big total at the end, which is the total number of people. Okay, so joint frequencies and marginal frequencies hopefully are pretty self-explanatory after that explanation there. And then we throw the word relative in there. Okay, so what a relative frequency is, we're at that point we're talking about what is a joint frequency relative to the total, or what is a marginal frequency relative to the total. So a joint relative frequency is very simple. You just have to take a joint frequency divided by the total. So let's say I want the joint relative frequency of a person that speaks a foreign language and plays an instrument. So speak a foreign language and plays an instrument, and I want the joint relative frequency. So the joint frequency is 5. The joint relative frequency would be 5 over 30. Okay? So the joint frequency is 5. The joint relative frequency is 5 over 30. So when you throw that word relative in there, that's when you're looking for the ratio. Okay, so a marginal relative frequency is very, very similar to that. It is a marginal frequency divided by the total. Okay, so if I said I wanted the, let's see, marginal relative frequency of someone that plays an instrument. So the marginal frequency of someone that plays an instrument is 12. The marginal relative frequency would be 12 divided by 30. Okay, so the marginal relative frequency is 12 divided by 30. Okay, or we could do 18 divided by 30, or 15 divided by 30, so on and so forth, depending on what question is asked. Okay, and then the last thing that we have is a conditional relative frequency. So this word conditional means one thing is conditional for another thing. So I might say, what's the conditional relative frequency? So what's the conditional relative frequency of people that play an instrument that speak a foreign language? So I would come to people that play an instrument, which there's 12 people that play an instrument, and the people that speak a foreign language would be 5 out of 12. Okay, so the conditional relative frequency is a joint frequency divided by a marginal frequency. Okay, so this is going to take some practice. It's going to take a little bit of memorization of remembering what each one of these things is. But it's pretty straightforward as you kind of move through. Okay, so let's go down here and look at these couple examples. So the first thing that I have to do, well, they're both missing no, so go ahead and fill that in. So it's a yes and a no. Okay, so the first thing I have to do is I have to fill in my totals. Okay, totals and totals. Okay, so I want you guys to do that first. And then once you get done with that, then I'm going to ask you a few questions. So let me fill in these boxes. Okay. So once you fill in your totals, then we need to get a couple. So it says to interpret the relative frequencies. Okay. So if I want a relative frequency, let's say we want. So let me ask you two things. So on number one, we want the joint relative frequency of females that attend college. So female college students. Okay, so that's what you're going to do for the first one. For the second one, we are going to do what is the marginal relative frequency of male car owners. No, of males. Sorry, we just stopped there. So the marginal relative frequency of males. Okay. So marginal joint relative frequency of female college students, and then marginal relative frequency of males. Okay, so go ahead and fill in the totals, and then go ahead and answer those two questions. You can pause the video, do that, and then unpause when you're ready for me. Okay, so the joint relative frequency of female college students means first I need to find female and yes college students, so that would be 120 right here. So 120 is my joint frequency. And since it says relative, then I need to divide by the 438. So 120 divided by 438 is going to be 0.27. Or we can turn it into a percent, 27%, right? So 0.27 or 27%. Either one of those answers is acceptable for me, okay? Then we move over to number 2. You can see my totals there. This time we want the marginal relative frequency of males. So first thing I need to do is find my my marginal frequency of males. So that's 190. So I have 190 males. And since it's relative, I need to divide by the total. So then 190 divided by 372 is 0.51. 0.51, or you could say 51%. Okay, so either one of those works. Okay, all right, let's go to page 2. And all we're doing on page 2 is just practicing filling in a two-way table. Okay, we've talked about the different kinds of frequencies, but sometimes you need to make sure that you can fill in the two-way table. Okay, so remember, all of the totals should add up. So I'm going to give you guys some time. So go ahead and pause the video, fill in the table based on what you know. You might have to kind of work backward a little bit, and then you can unpause when you are all ready for me. Okay, so what we want to focus on here is we want to find a row or column that already has two numbers filled in, right? Because if I know I have a total of 130 and I know 58 of them are on time, then I just have to do 130 minus 58, and I see there are 72 that are tardy. And then if I work upward from that 130, 130 minus 60 would leave me with 70 here. Okay. Now I can focus on this column since I have two numbers, this row since I have two numbers. So filling in this box here, I have 70 total. I want to take away the 22, so 70 minus 22 is 48. And then 72 minus 22 is 50 here. And then you can go either direction that you want. I'll just go across since they're nice whole numbers. 60 total, 50 tardy, so there would have to be 10 in this box. Okay, so just a quick example, just making sure that you guys are equipped when you see a table that is not completely filled in. Just kind of work your way backward through the table to make sure that you can fill it all in. All right, you guys are ready for your prep?